Alright, so before I begin, this story that I'm about to do, I'm not talking about this because it's a Democrat that did this. But it is important to, this is about voting. That's what this story is really about and the importance of it. So let's go ahead and begin. Ohio Democrat, and by the way, this is Fox News. Okay, this is Fox News. So I will admit that. Ohio Democrat tried to trade votes for cash, could get 50 years in prison. A Cincinnati city councilwoman could face up to 50 years in prison after being arrested Tuesday on federal corruption charges. Shortly after being taken into custody, Tamaya Denard appeared in court in handcuffs and leg irons to face charges of honest services fraud, bribery, and attempted extortion. In one instance, a source linked to a downtown development project who was cooperating with the FBI handed Denard a cashier's check for $10,000. "Oh, that's perfect," Denard, 40, is heard saying on the recording. "Thank you. I'm going right to the bank on this." "Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. I'm going right to the bank on this." Another time, Denard allegedly requested $15,000. "It would be awesome if this were initiated today," she said, according to an affidavit. After Tuesday's hearing, Denard was released on her own. She was released pending further court action, but was ordered to surrender her passport. Federal authorities alleged Denard had requested sums of $10,000 to $15,000 for personal expenses from the source. This is just pitiful. That person then worked with the FBI to provide text messages and recorded conversations involving Denard between August and December 2019, leading to her arrest. Denard engaged in a scheme to defraud the citizens of Cincinnati of her honest services as a council member. FBI agent Nathan Holbrook wrote in his statement, "She engaged in acts and attempted acts of bribery and extortion, attempting to exchange her votes for money." Video posted online by the station showed Denard walking to a waiting vehicle after her court hearing. Her attorney, Eric Larson, claimed his client was innocent of the charges. "I don't believe that she's done anything unethical or illegal and will be looking to fight that." Authorities allege that Denard persisted in seeking cash from the source even after the source told her in a recorded conversation that the requests were totally inappropriate and advised her, "Please don't suggest it again." Denard used some of the cash to pay for a trip with a friend to a resort in Clearwater Beach, Florida. Other payments went toward her rent, a car, and other expenses, authorities said. The councilwoman was arrested while on her way to a Starbucks store in the morning and appeared in court a few hours later. U.S. Attorney David, I think it's De Villers. That's probably not what it is. But whatever. Praised the source for participating in the investigation. "It takes courage for citizens to come forward and assist law enforcement as this individual did." Denard, no, I'll read that line. "What happens next is uncertain because the city charter does not address whether a council member can continue to serve after being accused of a crime. If convicted, however, Ohio state law would force her removal." Denard also faces other problems, according to the newspaper, such as investigations over allegedly illegally texting with other council members, allegedly failing to list debts on her financial disclosure form, and reportedly facing eviction from the apartment building where she currently lives. This woman is in a lot of trouble. She's in a bit of hot water, quite a bit actually. Now, what I wanted to talk about was how important voting is at the local, state, and government level. All these things matter. Because here's what you need to understand. Local government is more important than the president, because that's where you live. Things are more personalized. That's where you spend most of your time. See, the president, he has to deal with, California, Missouri. He has to deal with all these different regions and all these different countries and all these different wars and all these different regions and trying to get them to work together for the best, for all Americans, which is extremely difficult to do. You have California and Texas are just such different places. New York and Alabama are totally different. And you gotta figure it out how to do it. And you got people, they're like, okay, I'll do you this favor and you do this for me. It's a hard job. But we underestimate the importance of local elections. They're extremely important. I'm telling you, they're more important in the average Joe's life than the presidential election. Sure, voting for that matters. Absolutely. But again, I asked this when Trump won in 2016. I remember the day he won. And then I remember the next day, people were just so nervous. And there were some people who were really happy. And there were others who, some were crying. And I'm just like, Jesus, this is so sad that these people don't really understand how this stuff works. And I asked someone, because we were talking about it, and she wasn't really familiar with politics, and so I was kind of I made politics simpler to her for her to understand. And she was like, well, I don't really know if I should be concerned or not. And I was like, let me ask you something. And I said, in your everyday life, how much did Obama affect your daily life? And she just looked at me and she said, what do you mean? And I said, in your everyday life, think about what you do every single day. Think about a typical day. What Obama did in the White House. How much did it affect your daily life? And she said, well, not really, not at all. I mean, she's like, well, kind of really indirectly. And I was like, that's the point. I was like, Trump's going to get in and you may not like him. You may like him, but it's like in your everyday life. Sure, he can help you. And sure, some of his policies can help you. Some of them can hurt you. But it's like he has to do things generally. He can't really do specifics. It's very hard to work in specifics at a national level because different places, there are places that are just so different. You can't really work in specifics. And then I asked her, I said, okay, I said, what? I said, when you saw things about Trump and Hillary Clinton on the news, I was like, did you think that it would really affect you? Or how much did you think that they would really affect you? And she was like, well, a lot, I think. And I asked her why. And she said, because they have the most power. And I just nodded. And I was like, listen. I was like, local government is more important because that's where we live. I was like, you live in Glendora. And the policies that Glendora has, the specific codes and, housing and stuff like that, it's different in each and every city. Crime rate, stuff like that. It's local politics matter more. And I asked her, I said, do you know what's happening in Pocatello, Idaho now? Right now. And she's like, what is that? And I was like, it's a place. And I asked her, I said, what's happening over there, is that affecting you here? And she said, no. I said, I said, what about Tallahassee, Florida? And she said, no. I said, where do you spend most of your time? And she's like, Glendora, California. And I said, what is happening in Glendora, California, does that affect what's happening in Austin, Texas? And she said, no. I said, that's my point. I said, you spend most of your time here, and what happens here, the laws here, that's what affects you the most. And she just kind of, she's like, that makes a lot of sense. And I told her, I said, voting for the president is now at that time, we weren't able to vote. We were too young. Our class was too young. But I said, the presidential race matters. It absolutely does. But I said, at the end of the day, you don't live in all these different places. You live in this one place. You, your family, your relatives are likely nearby. But that's how it is. And she was like, well, then it doesn't really make a lot of sense to be afraid. And I was like, yeah. I was like, there are certain people where they can be really radical and it can affect you. But even then it's at such a high level that it's not gonna bother you that much because it's not at a localized level. Things that are local you feel them immediately. That's how it works. Think of it like an earthquake. The closer you are to the source, if that's where you live, if you live at the epicenter of an earthquake, that you're going to feel the most force there. That's where the shaking is going to be the greatest. The further you go out, it gets weaker. And that's how politics work. If you live in a certain city, what happens in your city, you feel that the most. That matters. Local leadership matters. Who's the mayor? Who are the council members? Those things matter. And we can't underestimate these races. We can't underestimate the importance of them. I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for. But what is important is that you do vote, and before you vote, do research. Okay, don't just vote because you like their name, or because you're like, oh, I remember seeing that name somewhere. I like their sign. I like their slogan. You need to research what these people have done. What have they accomplished? What is their, track record? That's what you need to look at. These things matter. Because there's a lot of people, and I had a discussion with Eric Prince, the editor of the editor at Marion West, and we were talking about whether there should be a test for voting. Should people have to take a test to be allowed to vote? And we kind of had that discussion, and it was really good. But the conclusion that we came to was that what's important is that voters are informed, and they inform themselves. Don't just get your information from the television. You have to dig deep. And here's the thing. You're not voting there's not a lot of things you're voting for. People say, oh, I don't have the time. Yeah, you do. Here's the thing. Voting season happens over a long period of time. You could research one candidate a week. If you just did it at the national level, you could research one candidate a week, and then you'd be good. It's really, and you don't have to do hours and hours and hours of research. Find what's important to you, see how they are on those areas. Look and see, what have they passed? What bills have they signed? Things like that. And what did those bills mean? How consistent have they been over time? Are they flip-floppers? Are they consistent? Are they stubborn? how do they speak? Things like that. But it's important. And it's even more important at the local level. But that's really what I wanted to talk about with this story. So we don't know. Again, I'm going to be neutral here. We don't know if this woman did it. Supposedly there are texts. There are text messages and there's, voice recording. I think she did it, but just for the sake of being neutral, I'm going to be neutral. Just say, okay, we don't know. I genuinely believe that, this is her. But she's in, she's in a lot of hot water. Here's the thing. Politics is one of those things where the slightest thing can end your career. The smallest thing. You really have to be tough to be in politics. You can't be soft. You will have fans. You will have haters. You have to be able to be criticized. There's a lot of people who, when they're criticized, they immediately get defensive and attack back. You can't attack everybody that hates you. There's too many. There's only one of you. There's way more of them. It takes a special kind of mindset to be in politics. And it takes another mindset to be successful in politics. It's hard. Would I ever go into politics? I don't know. I mean, it would take, I don't know. It would take, I don't know. I can't even answer that question because I can't even see myself wanting to do that. I can't see myself wanting to be in politics. There was a time where I did. I wanted to be. There was a time where I thought about being president. How good would I do? Things like that. But I just, no, that's not going to happen. I don't think. But that's what's important. Vote and research before you vote. Okay, don't just go by what you see on television. You're gonna have to dig. You're gonna have to dig. And I'm just talking at the presidential level. It's every 4 years. It's every 4 years. That's all. That's what you got to do. Just research just a little bit. And I would say that the more you do, the better informed you'll be. But you know what's important to you. You know what's important to you. You know what matters the most in your life. You know what's going to affect you the most. So that's, just pay attention to those things when it comes to voting at the presidential level. But remember, local government is most important in your life. It may not seem like it, but it is. You're at the epicenter. And the epicenter is where you feel it the most. Okay. I'm gonna go to this girl who was 6, and got arrested in Florida. These stories are interesting. I saw this yesterday. And, I should say, I saw the headline yesterday. And I didn't really get a chance to research it like I wanted to. But today I was able to. So, there's 2 articles that I'm going to use for it. This first one is from Fox News. And the reason I'm using the second one is because this article is really short. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. A sobbing 6-year-old Florida girl begged Orlando cops to let her go as she was arrested at school for hitting 3 employees, disturbing police body cam video shows. The footage released by the family shows the first grader breaking down as she is restrained with zip ties on September 19th. So this was a while ago. She's going to have to come with us now. Officer Dennis Turner tells the school employee video shows. Stand up, come over here. What are those for? She asked. He said, it's for you. He was later fired for violating department policy during the arrest. The girl starts crying uncontrollably and pleads with another officer not to put her in the restraints. Okay, that's all from Fox News. So here we go. Right here it says, this is from the New York Post. I'm going to go down a little bit. A second officer said it's not going to hurt. And then she says, no, I don't want handcuffs on, which, obviously no one does. And then she said, no, don't put handcuffs on, please. The girl was then led to a waiting police SUV outside the school, where she had earlier kicked and punched 3 employees, according to an arrest report obtained by the Orlando Sentinel. A charge of misdemeanor battery against Kaya was dropped by prosecutors the following day. I don't want to go in the police car, the girl continues to cry. Please. You don't want to, the second cop replies. You have to. Please, give me a second chance, Kaya cries. Please let me go. Turner was later terminated by Orlando cops for violating agency policy for arresting children younger than 12 without a supervisor's approval. State law, however, does not cite a minimum age for arrest in Florida. The girl's grandmother, Marilyn Kirkland, says she hopes the footage will lead to a change in state law by setting 12 as the minimum age for being arrested. I knew that what they did was wrong, but I never knew she was begging for help, Kirkland told the newspaper late Monday. I watched her break. Kirkland said Kaya suffered from sleep apnea, which caused her to lash out at school. The girl was processed at a county juvenile center where her mugshot and fingerprints were taken. She even had to stand on a stool so her booking photo could be taken, her grandmother said. In an unrelated incident, that same day, Turner also arrested a 6-year-old boy at the school for misdemeanor battery. The boy was released before being processed. A spokesperson for the school, meanwhile, has said administrators never wanted to press charges against either child. Orlando Police Chief Orlando Roland, wow, his name is Orlando and he's the police chief of Orlando, wow, told reporters a week after the high-profile arrest that he was appalled by Turner's actions. As a grandfather of 3 children less than 11 years old, I can only imagine how traumatic this was for everyone involved, Roland said. We could fathom the idea of a 6-year-old being put in the back of a police car. Okay, so that's that. Now, I didn't really have too much to say about this because I wanted to ask you guys a question. How do you guys feel? Do you think that there should be a minimum age where someone could be arrested? Because I don't know. Because there are some things the video's hard to watch. I'm gonna admit it's hard to watch, okay? But I look at this and I'm like, okay, there are certain things I know that at a certain age, not to hit, kick, steal. There are certain things that you know not to do. You may do them, but you know that it's wrong. And And it's just difficult. It's very difficult. And I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Because there are some of you who probably have children that, let's say they're around this age, 5, 6, 7, 8, around this age. And there are just certain things where you're like, oh, no way. And just because they're your relative, you'd be like, I can't imagine them ever being arrested for anything. But I do believe that there are certain things that people should be arrested for, no matter what their age is. 6, you know right from wrong. You know right from wrong. You know not to lie, and you know certain things like that. I had that story the other day about the 7-year-old who was questioned on whether he had brought a gun to school. That was huge. And you think about these things and you're like, okay, well, he was mentally ill. But then again, if you bring, he didn't. Remember, he didn't. But if you do bring a weapon to school, you know not to do that. You just knew not to do that. So should they be arrested for that? It's when children are involved, it can be very difficult. It can be very difficult. And these decisions are hard. Because sometimes I just think, you know what? I don't know. In some areas, I would say, yeah, they need to be arrested. And they talk about, the traumatic experience. Listen. This, supposedly the girl is, where is it? Where is it? Concerning the sleep apnea. Anyway, I can't find it in that thing right now. But anyway, here it is. Kirkland said Kaya suffered from sleep apnea, which caused her to lash out at school. Listen, lack of sleep does not give you the right to hit people. It doesn't. You can't do that to people. Like, it's not okay. It isn't. We're all tired. I've never had sleep apnea. I know it can be fixed with, surgery. I don't know, what their financial situation is, but I do know that hitting is not okay. Yes, sleeping makes you grumpy. It does. You're not your best self when you are tired, when you're groggy. You just don't really want to be around people. You just kind of want to be left alone. But it is not okay to hit people. You can't do that. So this is just really interesting. And I didn't really have too much to say. Do I think she should have been arrested? I'm really in between, because to me it's not okay to hit people. It's not. Especially on purpose. The only time it's okay to hit people is in sports. Or self-defense. That's it. If it's part of the activity, or if you're defending yourself, that's when it's okay. But this, lashing out because you're tired, no, that's not okay. Imagine I just went up to one of my professors and just slapped him because I'm tired. And because I was irritable. Does that make it okay? Does that, no. Yeah, she's 6. But you know that that's wrong. Anyway, I just want to know what you guys think, because I find this stuff interesting. Because I think you could make a case either way. I think you could make a legitimate case either way. So that's that. And as I said, there's no right or wrong answer, I believe. There's no right or wrong answer to whether there should be a minimum age. There shouldn't be. I don't think that there's a right or wrong age. I mean, a right or wrong answer to that question. I will admit, some people, seeing how old they are, will make you think man, what did they do? What could they have possibly have done? They're only 5. They barely come up to the officer's waist. Why are they being arrested? But, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Okay, so, TikTok, it's really, social media is really something else. It's really amazing. There are people whose lives are changed through social media. They become stars. They become prominent. They become influencers. It's really amazing just how social media has changed the landscape of opportunity. It's amazing. There's never been more opportunity available to people. Now, one of the things concerning social media is that trends are a big part of social media. There's the J-Lo challenge, which, if you don't know what that is, it's this thing where, so Jennifer Lopez is 50, and she posted a picture of herself in a bikini. And moms started doing the same thing. They just took pictures of themselves in their bikinis and posted them. So, trends, there are many trends. You just have different things. Some are interesting, some are funny, some are ridiculous, some are stupid. This one is stupid. Okay? This challenge is called the Skull Breaker Challenge. Okay? Arkansas teen concussed after TikTok's Skull Breaker Challenge. Growing number suffering head injuries. Really? Some of these headlines are just hilarious. It's called the Skull Breaker Challenge. And then, this is from Fox News. There's a semicolon, and it says growing number suffering head injuries. Well, that's where your skull is. And this is just so stupid. So, the challenge, which originated in Spain, involves 3 people standing next to each other, with the 2 outside persons jumping while the center person remains still. When the person in the middle jumps, the 2 outside members kick that person's legs forward, throwing them off balance when they hit their heads. No, that's just, is that not one of the stupidest things that you've heard in 2020? My question is, who comes up with these ideas, and how do they catch on? And then people look at these things and they say, that looks like a good idea. There's no way. The only way here's the thing. Let me cut some slack here. Some of these people who participate may not know what they're actually doing. They may not, because here's the thing. most people are not going to willingly sign up to get their legs kicked out from under them. No one is going to sign up to go head over heels. That's like asking a basketball player to volunteer being undercut. And if you don't know what that is, well, let me just explain this. When you jump in the air, you expect to land a certain way and your body gets ready for that. The slightest offset of the body while it's in the air affects how you land. And so if you're touched just a little bit, you will hurt yourself. Or sometimes you'll get lucky and you won't, but you can really seriously hurt yourself. Like you undercut a sports player, especially basketball, you're really going to be on their bad side. I mean, that's no joke. It's not funny at all. Okay. It's worse than trying to trip someone. It's not funny. So I will cut these people some slack who are suffering these things. And because I can't imagine these people willingly would tell, their friends, say, hey man, so we're going to line up and then me and Joe we're going to jump up. You're going to be in the middle. When we land, you jump up and then, we're going to film it. I'm going to assume that these guys, that these people who get these head injuries don't know what they're really getting into. So I'll cut some slack there. An Arkansas teen at Southeast Arkansas Preparatory High School sustained a concussion just last week when his friends decided to pull the prank on him. They said, all you do is jump. I jumped, they kicked me out. This guy messed up on his quote. They kicked my legs out from under me so I couldn't land. All I remember is being on the floor. The challenge which originated in Spain involves 3 people standing next to each other with the 2 outside persons jumping while the center person remains still. When the person in the middle jumps, the outside members kick that person's legs forward, throwing them off balance where they hit their heads. Now, let me say this. There are people who are doing it the other way. And when I say the other way, they're not kicking their legs out. They're not having these people who jump up land backwards on their back. There are some people who they are, they're causing their legs to go behind them when they jump in the air, and so they land on their face, which is even that's just why would you do that? Because here's the thing, because here's the thing about guys, and this is a thing that mostly guys would do, because guys are stupid. We do things where we're just we just have stupid ideas, and sometimes we go through with them. So this is just dumb. Because here's the thing, there's rough and tumble, you're messing around, which is actually one thing that fathers are supposed to do with their children. Destabilize, kind of rough play with, their sons and daughters and stuff like that, and just, the physical activity, that aspect, wrestling, running, jumping, stuff like that, throwing your children up in the air. That's kind of the role. That's one of the roles that dads are supposed to take on. So there's that aspect. But then there's this stupid stuff. And there's football and stuff like that where friends do that. But this right here, you are deliberately trying to hurt the person. You're trying to hurt the person, and that's not okay. See, it's one thing when you have an activity where you could get hurt. Then you have activities where the goal is to hurt somebody. One of those activities would be something like boxing, where you have to hit the other person and pretty much hit them and bring them enough pain to get them into submission, or just plain knock them out, or, do whatever it takes to win, which involves inducing pain. Okay, in football, pain is part of the game, but you're not trying to hurt the person. You're trying to stop them from scoring. So it's different. But this right here, this is just unacceptable. This is just unacceptable. And I have to be honest, if my friends did this to me, you can call this sensitive. But I'm not going to be friends with these guys anymore. If they did this to me. Not because my feelings were hurt, but because they tried to deliberately hurt me. Like, okay, it's your head. That's really serious stuff. Concussions are not fun. And sometimes you can get one and you don't know you have it. Because concussion symptoms can take a long time to come about. They can take days or weeks. But it's horrible. But the kid was, he was taken to a hospital, where he was treated for a concussion. His mother, Kimberly Hearn, says the situation could have been worse for her son, who underwent several surgeries and chemotherapy for a brain tumor. I don't get it. A New Jersey family experienced a similar scare after they say their 13-year-old son was hospitalized a month ago after he fell victim to the same cruel prank. I was just shocked. I was beside myself that two kids pulled a prank on my son that landed him in the hospital. Mark Schenker told WABC. Schenker said his son is still experiencing concussion-like symptoms that have forced him to be placed on academic restriction. Same thing happened to an Arizona mother. This kid has facial, injuries. And this kid doesn't look good. No, I mean, it's not okay. It's not okay. It's like, here's the thing. And I want to have this message go out to kind of Gen Z. Millennials, we're kind of out of this. They're kind of out of the stupid pranks and stuff like that. The stupid, trends and things that go viral. There are certain things, fellow Gen Zers, that we see on social media that we should not participate in. There are certain things that are just plain stupid, and it's like, why do that? Like, you guys remember the eraser challenge? Where you, put an eraser and just rubbed your skin? How stupid? For what? See, here's the thing. A lot of these things are rooted in boredom. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. And here's the thing. When you become stagnant and when you just stay still and you don't really do anything, that's when you can get into the most trouble. Because see, kids and teenagers, they really don't have that much to do. They don't. And so they look at things and they say, you know what, let's just do whatever. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was something that I talked about in one of my earlier episodes, where there was this kid, these two boys. One was on a bicycle, and there was the other guy. He lit the guy's pants on fire and had him ride the bike while his pants were on fire. Now, I mostly criticized the kid who said, you know what, go ahead and light my pants on fire as I ride the bike. Who who would sign up? What intelligent individual? No, you don't even have to be smart. What word can I use here? What sane person would sign up willingly to say, you know what, I'm going to ride my bike. You set my pants on fire, and I'm going to continue to ride the bike while my pants are on fire. Like some things they're just plain stupid, and some people just deserve what happens to them. Like that kid sustained, serious injuries. And then there's another thing that I talk about that I think I tied in with that. It was like, okay, I'm gonna pour this, solution on you, and then I'm gonna set you on fire, but it's not gonna go, you're not gonna burn. Okay, so I've seen those experiments in chemistry. They are done by people who know what they're doing, and they know how much to put on. Okay, there was a kid, and this kid, he signed up for this, he trusted his friends, and I think they were like 11, 12, just dumb. And he signed up to do this, and he ended up in the hospital. His whole torso was burnt up. I think luckily he only had first-degree burns. But it's like, seriously, man. Some things we just do to ourselves. But there are other things like this where I genuinely believe that there are people who would not sign up for this. People are not going to sign up to get undercut. There's no basketball player that's going to go up for a dunk and say, they're not going to go up for a dunk willingly, knowing that they're going to get undercut. They're not going to do that. These are people's heads. What are you doing? And I'm going to say this. If you think that this is funny, you're probably not really a good person. Again, make it personal. Imagine it was you. Your head is going to hit the pavement hard. Your skull is not as strong as you think it is. It isn't. Our heads weren't made to get hit. Our heads weren't made to cause impact. You have to do it some of these things are just stupid. So what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to these trends, people, let's think before we participate in the activity. If it's something that's supposed to cause you pain, physical pain, don't do it. There's not enough peer pressure to make me want there was never enough peer pressure to get me to do something that I knew I would hurt myself. That just wasn't a thing. Not for me, it didn't affect me. But, you guys remember that phrase, and this Gen Zers may not really remember this, us older ones will. But, remember the phrase, do it for the vine? Where it's just like, you know what, this could go bad, this could go really well, but whatever happens, give it your best because you're doing it for Vine. And, even then it's just like, look, man, don't do that. Just don't. If you're going to do something, just think about what you're doing before you do it. And posting it. Because, see, here's the thing. You can put these things on social media, and you can be showing just how stupid you are. See, it's one thing to do something stupid, and no one knows about it. Then it's one thing to do something stupid and then post it for everyone to see just how stupid you are. or how stupid you were at that moment. Because, people now, when it comes to jobs, it's like, okay, what are you posting? What are you saying? What are you doing online? Who are you hanging out with online? Who are you connected to? What you post on social media and on the internet is important. It's critical for your future, because you'll be judged. Part of the future is you will be judged based off what you put out on the internet. That's just how it is today. That's part of it. That's part of your reputation. That's part of where it comes from. What people think of you. I understand that, what I do, it involves my reputation. Some people think, oh, he's really brave. Some think, oh, he's sexist. Some think, oh, he's really smart. Some think, oh, he's really ignorant. I understand that comes with this. Oh, he's a bigot. He doesn't like homosexuals. Which, by the way, that's not true. I just disagree with the lifestyle. I disagree with the transgender lifestyle. I don't hate the people. I want them to get help. They need Jesus Christ. They need him as their Lord and Savior. But I don't hate people. But what I'm trying to say is that what we put on the internet and what we put out there to share with the world is important. Don't humiliate yourself and share it. Don't do that. You're really just hurting yourself. So, again, with this Skullbreaker challenge, it's not funny. These are people's heads. There are people who have soft skulls. When I say soft, I mean soft. Like, they receive a blow to the head, like it could cause like bleeding in the brain, and bleeding in the brain is really not good. Like, if you're found to have bleeding in your brain, and you're in the hospital, you go to the hospital, they find that, they immediately take you to surgery. Immediately, like, it's like you'll be in the room so fast you'll be like, what just happened? Okay? When I was in the hospital, I was dying. Like my organs were shutting down. I had no idea. I was in the emergency room. I went, and then I remember going to sleep. I didn't wake up 3 days later. Like, I didn't know what happened. I didn't know where I was. I'm telling you, man, like, this is just serious stuff. So, people, before you volunteer for a challenge, before you see something that's going to be posted, be careful of what you're doing. Just think, okay, will this help me? Will this hurt me? Because it does matter. It really does matter. And if you don't, if you don't think about these things, you could seriously get hurt, or you could seriously ruin your future. Just think before you act.